The Saga of Burnt Njal, Chapter 33, Gunnar's Wooing. So Gunnar rode, and they all rode, but when they came to the Thing, they were so well arrayed that none could match them in bravery, and men came out of every booth to wonder at them. Gunnar rode to the booths of the men of River, and he was there with his kinsmen. Many men came to see Gunnar and asked tidings of him, and he was easy and merry to all men, and told them all they wished to hear. It happened one day that Gunnar went away from the Hill of Laws, and passed by the booths of the men from Mossfell. Then he saw a woman coming to meet him, and she was in goodly attire, but when they met she spoke to Gunnar at once. He took her greeting well, and asked what woman she might be. She told him her name was Hallgerda, and said she was Hallskuld's daughter, Dalakol's son. She spoke up boldly to him, and bade him tell her of his voyage. But he said he would not gainsay her a talk. Then they sat them down and talked. She was so clad that she had on a red kirtle, and had thrown over her a scarlet cloak trimmed with needlework down to the waist. Her hair came down to her bosom, and was both fair and full. Gunnar was clad in the scarlet clothes which King Harald Gormson had given him. He had also the gold ring on his arm which Earl Hakon had given him. So they talked long out loud, and at last it came about that he asked whether she were unmarried. She said so it was, and there are not many who would run the risk of that. Thinkest thou none good enough for thee? Not that, she says, but I am said to be hard to please in husbands. How wouldst thou answer, were I to ask for thee? That cannot be in thy mind, she says. It is, though, says he. If thou hast any mind that way, go and see my father. After that they broke off their talk. Gunnar went straightway to the dalesmen's booths, and met a man outside the doorway, and asks whether Hallskuld were inside the booth. The man says that he was. Then Gunnar went in, and Hallskuld and Hrut made him welcome. He sat down between them, and no one could find out from their talk that there had ever been any misunderstanding between them. At last Gunnar's speech turned thither, how these brothers would answer if he asked for Hallgerda. Well, says Hallskuld, if that is indeed thy mind. Gunnar says that he is in earnest, but we so parted last time that many would think it unlikely that we should ever be bound together. How thinkest thou, kinsman Hrut? Says Hallskuld. Hrut answered, Methinks this is no even match. How dost thou make that out? Says Gunnar. Hrut spoke, In this wise will I answer thee about this matter, as is the very truth. Thou art a brisk, brave man, well-to-do, and unblemished, but she is much mixed up with ill report, and I will not cheat thee in anything. Good go with thee for thy words, says Gunnar, but still I shall hold that for true, that the old feud weighs with ye, if ye will not let me make this match. Not so, says Hrut. 'Tis more because I see that thou art unable to help thyself. But thou we make no bargain, we would still be friends. I have talked to her about it, says Gunnar, and it is not far from her mind. Hrut says, I know that you have both set your hearts on this match, and besides, ye two are those who run the most risk as to how it turns out. Hrut told Gunnar unasked all about Hallgerda's temper, and Gunnar at first thought that there was more than enough that was wanting, but at last it came about that they struck a bargain. Then Hallgerda was sent for, and they talked over the business when she was by, and now as before they made her betroth herself. The bridal feast was to be at Lithen, and at first they were to set about it secretly, but the end after all was that everyone knew of it. Gunnar rode home from the Thing, and came to Bergthorsnal, and told Njal of the bargain he had made. He took it heavily. Gunnar asks Njal why he thought this so unwise. Because from her, says Njal, will arise all kind of ill if she comes hither east. Never shall she spoil our friendship, says Gunnar. Ah, but yet that may come very near, says Njal, and besides, thou wilt have always to make atonement for her. Gunnar asked Njal to the wedding, and all those as well whom he wished should be at it from Njal's house. Njal promised to go, and after that Gunnar rode home, and then rode about the district to bid men to his wedding.